The festive season is here, and as we gradually shift our focus to more joyous celebrations and holiday activities, it is crucial to also acknowledge the safety challenges that come around this time of year. Now, to help you and ensure that your Christmas season does not turn from merry to scary, we are engaging the Ghana National Fire Service on safety tips and generally the things that we should keep in our awareness throughout this festive celebration. We are sitting with ADO1 Alex King Nate, who is the Assistant Division Officer with the PR Department, to share more light on what to do, what not to do, and generally how the fire service operates around this time of year. ADO1 Alex Nate, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation.
Thank you for having us, and thanks to the multimedia, for always pulling through to help us pass our safety messages across to your good listeners.
Well, thank you. Let's start the conversation right away with a question. Do you have increased incidents of fire issues around this time, whether domestic and commercial, around this festive season that everyone is celebrating and the kids are home and, you know, there's a lot of activities going on?
Well, yes, we've recorded quite a number of fires, especially during the Harmattan. You know, it's presented a very fertile grounds for a lot of fires. As it stands now, between January to 11th December, we've recorded well over 5,000 fires. Out of it, over 2,000 are domestic fires. So then, even though it's been a decline as compared to over 6,000 fires that were recorded last year, we are doing our best that getting to this festive season, we should be able to keep the fires at a minimum.
How are you preparing to handle these incidents that occur around this time of year? What is the fire service doing specifically to target these incidents?
Okay, so the fire service mandates are very much committed to saving lives and then protecting people's property and lives. We've put out a lot of safety, a lot of measures in place to be able to make sure that we provide the best of services to the good people of Ghana. So as of now, all our staff who are on leave have been recalled back to active duty from December. So as it stands now, no personnel is on leave. All hands on deck, everyone is back at the stations to ensure that we have the full resources of our men at our disposal. We are also embarking on night patrols. Most of our stations, advantage points, such as Makola and other very volatile areas, will be embarking on fire patrols at night especially, so that if they should see any fire that could escalate, you know, they'll be able to nip it in the bud before it gets out of hand. Also, what we're doing as a service is that we've inaugurated a fire safety task force that's going around to make sure that people are complying with fire safety measures. And also, how are they making sure that people comply with these fire safety measures? So every building, commercial or commercial especially, is supposed to have a fire certificate. That means that the building has been vetted and certified by the Ghana National Fire Service as being in accordance with the fire safety requirements. Right. So it's one thing that our people are going, along with the National Insurance Commission to ensure that, buildings are insured and the fire safety is complied with. Also, notwithstanding the fact that our fire tenders are very old, which has been a call on our lips, hoping that, you know, help will come in very soon, we are doing our best to service the serviceable ones. Let me explain. So
we know that it's not all the stations that are operational right now. So maybe you can shed more light on that.
Okay. Yeah. So so you realize that our appliances. Let me give you a bit of a backstory.
Yeah.
Our appliances are custom made. They are not appliances that are on display on the markets that you can go buy and then bring to Ghana. You have to send your specifications to the service provider who would in turn give it to the manufacturer to design the fire tender based on the specification that you require. So as it stands now, when the appliances break down, we are not able to get the tools or the parts are not on the market because the vehicles are custom made. So when the cars, so ideally, we're supposed to change appliances international standard by every 5 years. But the unfortunate thing for us here is that we give ourselves like 10 years. And yet
so
the 10
years and
almost 15 years and counting. Some 15, some, you know, we are still hoping for the best. So as it stands now, it has gone way, way, way beyond the acceptable time.
Who's responsible for this, and why have you let it get to this point?
Well, the government is supposed to procure fire tenders for the Ghana National Fire Service. As it stands now, I've been informed that procurement processes are underway, but as to when it would arrive is what I can't confirm as of now. And it's just our hope that the process will be expedited so that we'll be able to service the good people of Ghana. Because as of last year, between 25th and 26th alone, we recorded about 226 fires in just these 2 days.
In 2 days, 226 fires?
In just these 2 days. So even with that, we had most of our appliances working. But this time, appliances like Medina and Adenta are not working.
So what happens when there's a fire incident in places like that?
So then we'll have to call on a much further appliance. So if there's a fire at Oyarifa, Adenta, I'm right here. Unfortunately, the car would have to come all the way from University of Ghana. So if University of Ghana has attended to fires also, and there's fire around these areas, they would have to rely on a much further appliance to attend to the needs of those areas. So then it all goes down to being able to get support from government, from organizations, and from individuals. Believe it or not, a place as affluent as East Legon, Chazako, there's no single fire station there. You see, there's no single fire station there. And it's not up to the Ghana National Fire Service to open fire stations. It's up to the municipal assemblies and district assemblies to open fire stations for us. Then we'll send men to man the areas.
But are you doing any collaborations? Because the places you've mentioned, like East Legon and the rest, I know there are executive clubs where the people there seem like they're wealthy. So is there any collaboration you're doing with non-governmental organizations, rich people who might want to help you? Anything that you're doing as an organization, not waiting for government to do the things that they have to do for you?
Well, our doors are always open, and we do our best to respond to fires in all these places. But then, obviously, I think an artist would say you don't need to be told now. You know, you are in the area, you see fires happening. You know, you realize that, you see, and I would say it's an attitudinal problem as Ghanaians. People prioritize their security much more than their safety. Everyone will be crying, thieves are worrying us, thieves are worrying us. But you hardly hear people saying fires are worrying us. So then the municipal assemblies are also tilted towards the security needs of people. The areas I mentioned, you know, they have our sister services over there, you know, but they don't have fire stations in these places. The whole of Achimota, La Paz, Dakuman, Odoko, Sotum, Ashonman Estate, Kwabenya, Dome. We don't have a single fire station in all these areas.
I see how that's a challenge. But before we get to the actual safety tips, you do realize that citizens are not very friendly with the service, Ghana National Fire Service. There was an incident recently where a fire officer was being stoned in a place. I know all these things make you uncomfortable, but why do you think, or what do you think accounts for this disconnect between you offering a service for us and we, the recipients of the service?
You see, the unfortunate thing is that bad news sells. Bad news sells. We've been to fires a lot, and you go and people thank you. And I get goosebumps a lot of times when we go and people are saying, oh, Yamin Shamo. You're going, oh, Yamin Shamo. They see that you're even wearing a fire lacrosse, Yamin Shamo. But that one never comes out. You see, it's when people get us wrong and then, you know, they misbehave. The OA incident was very unfortunate. Our men arrived, the people were being agitating against them for coming late. You know, and it was rather unfortunate because you see, there's a sharp difference between the time the fire started and the time our control room was called.
Okay, please explain.
So the fire can start at 10 a.m. they will try to see if they can fight it themselves without calling on the Ghana National Fire Service. And when it gets out of hand, and they probably call us at 10:30, and based on where our distance, we arrive at probably 10:35 or 10:40, and the fire has been burning for more than 30 minutes, and you're now coming. And then you ask them that, okay, so who called fire service? Oh, some man said he called. Oh, some man said you never see the one. And then if you find someone who is bold enough to say that he called, and you ask them the number they called, they don't even know the number they called.
What is the number to call? Just
our numbers are 192 112. We have our control room's number that you can call directly.
Yes, we'll bring you details, activities of how the control room is run, and you know the whole process of going to quench a fire when there's an incident of fire.
When you call into the control room. So you see, so you find people not having our numbers at heart. You find people, such a big bus, they should be very much ashamed of themselves, because a bus as expensive as that, and they didn't have a single fire extinguisher.
Which is a requirement.
It's a requirement.
Okay.
And the ironic thing was that on the same day that bus caught fire, we were talking about vehicular fires on Joy FM with Lexus Bill. We're talking about some of the mistakes that people do, or some of the natural things that happen that cause fires in vehicles, and that the vehicular fires happen. Believe it or not, someone will tune into the station, hear that a fireman is there, and then will chuckle and change the channel without listening to ways to protect themselves, and will be quick to turn around to accuse the Ghana National Fire Service.
Let's continue from there. What to do? Let's start first from vehicular, we go to domestic, and then we can conclude on commercial, because there are parties going on even in the offices around this time of year. In a car, if you own a car, what are some of the things to do and not to do to be safe?
Okay, so if you own a car, it's important to keep your car tidy, because once the car is dirty, it invites roaches and at times mice in the car, and these mice end up chewing on these electrical wires, exposing them to, you know, once they chew on one wire and another wire, and you know, Ghana, our roads are beautifully potholed. So when there's you know, force on a pothole, the tendency for some of the wires to come together to cause a spark is very high. Also, you have to be always looking out for leakages, oil leakages within your engine. Because once there are leakages within the engine, you know, oils are very, you know, flammable, and are very good agents for fires. So once there's any leakage there, and you see, fire, there are three components of fires: heat, fuel, and oxygen.
Right.
Oxygen is all around us. Fuel is some of the oil that leak from the car, and then the heat already coming from the car comes together, making the three elements complete, and then starting a fire.
Right.
So it's important to always look out for leakages in your car, and if you see leakages, try and have it sorted out before it gets out of hand.
And keep a fire extinguisher in your car.
Keep a fire, that's the most important thing.
I know the things.
Thank you very much. You see, and you see, the funny thing is that people think that when you come, you just have to come and pour water on it. See, we don't fight every fire with water just like that.
What kind of fires do you fight with water, and which ones don't you fight with water?
So we don't fight electrical fires with water, or we don't fight fires that involve oils, you know, or liquefied petroleum gases with water. A classic example is this unfortunate incident that happened at Circle, where people lost their lives. You realize that on that day it was raining. It was raining so bad. So if water,
the Vienna incident,
if water could quench every fire, why did we have that disaster on that day? Because then the fire service wouldn't even have had to come there, because there was so much water there.
Yeah.
You know, so that should let people understand. Even if you're frying your own plantain at home, and then you dip your plantain in water, and then you put it in the oil, you see the ch that you get. So imagine the ch.
Right.
You know,
okay.
Literally.
Please continue from the chi and tell us all the other things that we should look out for in the domestic setting. Okay.
So then when you do that, realize that. So imagine if it's a big fire with so many oil, and you just go and pour water on it. You can imagine the kind of feedback that you get from that. So that is how we don't fight just every fire. So if we get to a place and realize that the fire has to do with electricals, then we call on ECG to cut power supply to the area before we're able to apply water on the fire.
All right.
So when our men get there, we've called on ECG to cut power supply, and there's a delay, then they'll draw conclusions that we've come without water. Because at the end of the day, we came to service the good people of Ghana, but not to die. So if there's
our lives are also
very important. If we get there and there's electricity power, you realize that even if you have a little water in your hand and you get close to an electrical appliance, you see the shock that you get. So imagine if it's an electrical fire and you go and pour water on it, you end up even killing people around you. So people should understand the way we work and appreciate it.
Your 5 top key fire safety tips for the home.
For the home. Yes. 1, keep your gas cylinders at home, outside and not inside the kitchen.
Right.
In that case, if there's any leakage from the gas cylinder, the thread dissipates into the air and reduces the risk of fires coming inside. Also, when you fill your gas, please do not, when you fill your gas and you come home, please do not immediately connect. You can connect it, but do not immediately engage the gas and start cooking.
Why
Wait till you see, gas expands. So once you know it's been in the car moving up and down, it's been expanding. You need to let it settle so that it can, it can reduce any risk. So that's one thing. Also, people should learn to put off their appliances at home.
That's 3.
Yes, that's 3. Occasionally run your hoses, your gas tube through soapy water. Engage the gas tube and then close the lid and then run it through soapy water. So once you look out for bubbles. If you see bubbles coming out, then you know that there's leakage in your gas cylinders. Also, people should avoid burning. At first, we used to say indiscriminate burning, but if you can avoid burning altogether, that would be the best, because fires carry embers. So you realize that when you are burning, the embers keep flying into the air. Because of the Harmattan season, there's dryness or lack of moisture in the environment. So the fire might not start in your house, but then the embers might fall on a combustible material somewhere. To take its time to smolder, and when people are not around, then the fire becomes so light. The 5th one, the most important, please get a fire extinguisher at home. People prioritize, as I said, their security more than their safety. So people have a lot of burglar proofs and a lot of padlocks, and even have security cameras at home, but wouldn't have a single fire extinguisher at home.
Do you think it's because of little to no education, or not enough education, I should say?
Education, I would say we beef up in education. Almost every day, fire service is on TV. Almost every day. And the good thing is that we even have a collaboration with Joy FM Drive Time, where we keep ensuring that people have fire-free festivities. So the education is massive. But again, it's as a people do not, these numbers that we mentioned, our safety, our emergency numbers, I can bet you that there are people, maybe just 5% of your viewers will write their number down. The rest will just be like
192. Please don't forget. Did I get it right? Yes. 192. Don't forget
and
that.
112.
And 112.
And then there's another number, 0302 772 446.
Okay.
When you call it goes, because even as a fire officer, if I have an emergency, that's the same number I even call. We don't have a special number to call, because so please keep these numbers in mind, and then do not take your fire safety, because a thief can come. The thief has taste. You can plead with the thief, and the thief will let you leave. The thief can probably take a few things and go. The fire does not have a taste. You can't negotiate with fire. If it comes, whatever it will take and take your life. And also, one thing to stay safe when there's fire is that, please, if there's fires, do not run out into to the gate, or do not run out. Try to crawl out. You crawl, because smoke goes up. So once the smoke goes up and you're running into the out, the smoke will end up blocking your airwaves, and then would even kill you before the fire kills you. So you go down, and then you drag yourself with your elbow, and then you crawl yourself out to safety.
Okay.
And then those who like to use Chinese doors, please get the quality standard one, because then some of them that are not quality end up expanding, because once they are subjected to heat, it expands. So that's why some people get trapped in the Chinese doors, because they are not able to come out due to the expansion of the doors as a result of the heat.
That makes a lot of sense. Please, let's round it up with safety tips in the office, in the workspace, whatever your work activity may be. Okay. 5 tips to stay safe at work. Okay, so remember, one of the top causes of fires at workplace is the air conditioners. So if you have to close, or if you have to go out, please remember to put off your air conditioners at work. Do not run your electrical cables under your carpets at work. Okay. Do not run your electrical cables under your carpets at work. Why?
Once the electrical cable heats up, and then the carpet is also very combustible. It heats up, and then it can easily catch fire because it's running under the carpet. Okay. Also, a good what's it called? Tidying of the workplace is very important, because then again, these lack of housekeeping could cause mice and other
and they
rodents,
chew on
and they chew on the wires, and then they can end up and then also I would again mention is get extinguishers at the workplace, because then you have to always look at the facts. And at work also, if they don't have, they should see a contractor to have an alternative exit. We have what we call means of escape. During fires, if you have just one way in, one way out, and there's an emergency, the stampede can even kill you before even the fire does. So it's important that if you don't have, try and get alternative doors at your workplace unhindered. Okay. Keep that place free from obstacles. That's the way to the alternative door shouldn't be your storeroom where you store things. It should be free, so that in case there's an emergency, you can easily run out through the door.
Let's continue the conversation while you show us how this place is run. We are the headquarters of Ghana National Fire Service, so please, after you.
Sure.
FA Atlantic. I'm calling from Fire Service. FA Atlantic from what's it? FA Atlantic from FMC.
I am Assistant Chief Fire Officer 1, Timothy Osafo from Director Public Relations. Prank calls has been one of the challenges that we face as a service. A lot of prank calls come through, and that makes it difficult for those who are in need of our services to get through to us when the need arises. For instance, in the month of October, we recorded in excess of 657,000 prank calls. When it happens like that, the system is just like you setting call waiting on your phone. So whoever comes first get through, and those who come last are at the bottom. And so unless those who abuse the system get off the line before we can pick those who are in genuine need of our services, and this goes a long way to affect our delivery timing. And so sometimes you hear people say we called the fire service and it took them hours on end to arrive. It is not that we took hours to arrive, simply because those who are trying to get through are unable to do so. There are situations too that those who are affected think that somebody have called the fire service and the fire service is not coming. Meanwhile, no one has called.
So you say around this time, it's usually when children are back home and they're, they have access to their phones and all that. So what particularly would be your message to parents and the children home at this time? So
we have also experienced that anytime children are on vacation, the prank calls goes high. And so we are advising parents. It is because the parents themselves do it. So the children are also learning from their parents. I'll use this opportunity to advise both parents and children that it is a crime, it's a criminal offense to prank the fire service or any other emergency services. We will be cracking the whip by trying to locate those who are making these prank calls and let the law take its course. So my advice is to every parent to advise their children to stop pranking the fire service. This does not only disturb our delivery time, it also disturbs those who are in need of our services. It deprives them of the service, much needed services that we need to offer them. And so we should all put a stop to it.
Well, like I said, the festive season is upon us, and do well to ensure that you're keeping safe. Keep a fire extinguisher in your home, in your office, and in your car. Make sure that all your appliances are turned off when you're leaving home. Those are my 2 takeaways from our time here at the Ghana National Fire Service Headquarters. So, from all of us, Merry Christmas, and make sure to keep safe. For Joy News, Sweetie Abochi.